3. Okay. Sweet. Look. Excellent. Looks like we got video going. How's everyone doing today? Just a quick hello, say hi in the chat room. Just wondering where everyone's from, right? We got Trevor. Thanks for joining, Trevor. Nice that you got the front row seat. You showed up early. Good job, buddy. Henry, thanks for coming. Thomas. Hey, Thomas, it was nice chatting with you yesterday. Thanks for coming today, too. That was great. And Tio, how you doing, bud? Great. We got, I think we had like a new record today. We got over 50 people were waiting. I think it was like 56 people before I started here. Not sure how many are on now, but yeah, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. We got some really good stuff coming today. I thought it'd be fun to kind of revisit something that I know a lot of people don't know, right? So a lot of people use Foundation and they love Foundation, and it's the top rated add-on in the RapidWeaver community. So thank you very much for allowing me to have that, and hope you guys are enjoying Foundation and loving it. So I have a lot of pride in it. You probably know I've been posting. I am working on version 2. I don't have anything to even give you a sneak peek yet today. So, but it's coming this summer. Can't wait. So, oh man, lots of people. Sweet. Netherlands. Hello from Lyle Workman. Thank you. How's it going, Dad? We got Canada, Holland. Chip's here. Hey, Chip. Germany. Man, all kinds of coolness. So today, what we're going to be doing is I actually have a little bit more than 10 gems to show you today. I tried to whittle the list down. I got it down to, I think it was like 13. So we're really close. And just like I did in all my previous live streams, I'm doing everything from scratch. I'm not like, nothing's canned. You're going to be watching me do everything from scratch. And I think that's important because you guys kind of see me maybe fumble through some things. And yeah, I'm a little nervous. At the very end, I'm going to be doing some database stuff on how to do forms with databases. Doing that live. Wow, that's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, we'll give let's get started. So right now we are going to start off with some general tips. So let me go ahead and set up my work area here. Okay. And let's do this. Okay, so let's open up some RapidWeaver. Oh, actually, I just realized something. Hold on one second. I have to make sure I don't have a certain beta installed on my machine because, yeah, it's a developer beta right now, and really exciting stuff coming up in the near future, but I can't be sharing that right now. So cool. Let's restart RapidWeaver again. And where's my Windows? The joys of having 2 displays. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to start off with a quick, whoops, my wallpaper changed. Okie dokie. We'll just go with it. We're going to start off with a simple project. This is just my sandbox project. It's kind of like the one, my playground that I kind of just use to test various things. I'm pretty sure I used this actually last week. So, and actually just to be clean, I'm going to throw a new site styles to make sure that there was no changes. It's completely default. And yeah, so here we go. Okay, as you see, this is just a very simple page. Just has some 1 columns and some paragraphs. Very boring. But let's go ahead. And so the first thing I want to go over is partials. Now, this isn't necessarily a Foundation specific thing, but it's a very important one because I know a lot of people don't properly use partials. And if you're building a website with Foundation, you're going to want to make sure that you utilize partials to the fullest extent so that you can really, save time. And so the obvious thing right now is partialing site styles. So if you're building a website, chances are when you do site styles, you're going to want to make sure that that site styles is the same across every single page, right? So first off, we're going to partial. So how you do a partial is right here. I'm going to go ahead and I select my site styles and I click on the partial button. And we're done, right? Now, essentially what you can do is you can give this partial a name. So a lot of times what I'll do is I have a little code snippet here for it's a font awesome. So here's a little trick. You can put in font awesome icons in your titles. Okay. And I put this little doodad here, which is the partial icon, FA cubes. So I just do I class equals FA cubes. So you can download this from the Font Awesome 4 documentation. And what I do is I like to put that in my partial name. And we'll see why. So I'm going to call this site styles. And so let's go back. Okay. And we should have, oops, how come that didn't show up? Site styles. As you see, it shows up here with the little icon, site styles. And oh, there it goes. So that way I know when I'm looking at this stack in edit mode, I know that this is actually not a partial, or I'm sorry, this isn't site styles, this is a partial. And you could tell a little bit by there's like an outline around the site styles inside of the stack, right? But just by adding that little icon into the partial name is a huge, visual cue that this is different, right? Now, obviously, I can name it something other than site styles, right? But I like that name, site styles. So here we go. We can now see that this isn't the actual site style stack. It's a partial because I added that little FA cubes. So there's a little tip, cool little tip right there. So next up is, now I guess I should say, why are we going to use partials, right? So if we add another page, so I'm going to add a second page to this, and we go to our partials library, we'll notice that I can now add this site styles partial to this project. And now whenever I go into site styles and make any changes, the changes that I make here inside the partial editor are going to be the same across all the pages that have the partial on it, right? Now, this is kind of basics for stacks, but this is very key and important. Now, another reason you will want to partial things, especially like site styles, is actually for performance. You'll notice that when you have site styles inside of a partial, the performance of your pages in general will be maybe a tad faster. So that is a benefit. Now you can have multiple stacks in here. So like, let's say I use Font Pro as well. So a lot of times you're going to want to make sure that you have the same fonts loaded on every single page, right? So here you can add things like Font Pro. If you're using Total CMS, you can add like the CMS core and things of that nature. So you're gonna stuff that's going to be on every page. You can kind of add that to this site styles partial so that all of those things get added to every page. Okay, cool. So that I don't want to dive into partials too much. I know a lot of you probably already use them. Some other great use cases for partials are basically if you want to have reusable components. Okay, so this is the obvious one, right, for something like site styles. But there's other things that we can use it for as well. So let's take, for example, a lot of times our web pages are built out into sections. And we want to make sure that those sections contain the same spacing maybe across everything, right? So that the spacing in between each section of our content is the same. Now, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll have like a one column foundation stack. And inside the settings, you'll set the top and the bottom padding to, like in this example, 3 rem. Okay, so that way, and if we go to here, it's the same thing. Now, but what if I wanted to change the padding or the spacing between each of these sections, right? It's kind of annoying because I'd have to go to each section, and either increase or decrease the padding to something new, right? So if I wanted to increase all of these to be 5 rem, I'd have to go to every single one of these and do that. That's a lot of work, right? It could be a little bit annoying. How can we use partials to make that a little bit better? So what I'm going to do is we're just going to add a new 1 column stack here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to partial it. So I'm going to create partial, and I'm going to call this, I'm just going to do a little text expander snippet, section wrapper. Let's call it section wrapper. Okay. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to unpin this content area. So that means that the content of this section is going to be unique for every single partial. So, and what I want to do is I'm going to say, let's do 5 rem on top and 5 rem on the bottom. So now this particular section wrapper, okay, now has, oops, hold on one second. I actually got to go this. That should work. Oh, why did that not work? Do we have to, hold on one second. That didn't do what I thought. We want to unpin that. Add items outside of this. Yes, that's correct. Back. Okay, there it goes. So I unpinned this section. So now whenever I add a section wrapper, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just add in some content. And let's say I want to add another section wrapper to the page, right? Now you can either copy paste it or here, let's just do that. I'm just going to add another section here. Oops, what did I do? Copy and paste that. So now I have 2 of these sections. And let's say, you know what, I preview this and I go, you know what, that really isn't what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and double click this section wrapper, go here, and let's say we want to change that to be 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And then we go back. And what you'll notice is both of these have now been updated, right? So very useful. We can use it for simple things, just as like wrapping content in our pages, so that we can have settings that are going to be reusable, and we can only change that setting one time. Okay. So I know this use case that I said before with site styles, everyone did that, right? But I think this next example of a partial is something that not many people actually do, where we're taking a small bit of thing and making it reusable. So that basically I'm kind of creating a class of a 1 column stack that I can then reuse multiple places. And this section wrapper could be used across all my pages, across my entire site. And I can easily adjust the padding between those sections by modifying the 1 partial. So very cool. Next up is something that's, I know a lot of people, this a little bit advanced. And what it is inside a lot of foundation stacks, you'll notice that there is something called a custom class setting. Okay. This one I was apparently doing something with Pi. And there's a lot inside paragraph there. There's a custom class inside all the column stacks. So if we look at the columns, we could scroll down. I thought the 1 columns had it. Oh. I'm wrong. Okay, that is something interesting. I thought I had custom classing columns, but you cannot right now. So paragraphs and headers and things of that nature. So I know headers has it, so you can go ahead and add a custom class. A lot of stacks throughout Foundation have this custom class setting. Now, I'm going to show you a few examples later on today that are going to be leveraging this custom class. Now, what can we use this custom class for? Now, another thing that's actually very convenient is this, not a part of Foundation, but it is a free stack. It's called CSS Box. And this allows you to put a custom class around anything, right? So I can have this entire section wrapper be inside of a class, and I can say, my wrapper, okay? So you can add custom classes to anything using CSS Box. Now, while I'm not going to dive into CSS right now, you can use these classes to really help you target particular things with a various class, right? let me just show you one simple example. Let's just go ahead and do add a custom class to this header and say we're going to call it red header. Okay, so I create a custom class called red header, and inside the page inspector, I'm going to go ahead and inside this CSS, I'm going to do dot red header color red. And this is CSS. If you guys don't understand CSS, I have a bunch of videos that kind of give you some general overviews. I did a great one at the Weaver Space conference a couple of years ago. So basically, I'm saying everything that has the class of red header, make the color red. Okay. And if we preview that, obviously this doesn't show inside edit mode, but if we preview this page, this header is now red. So those custom classes really give you a lot of flexibility. Also things, if you're using Font Pro, you can target a particular class with Font Pro, and that's a very powerful thing. So yeah, really easy to do with these custom classes that are inside header, paragraph, and a bunch of other stacks. And CSS Box, while it's not a part of Foundation, it's free. I think everybody should have it. Super useful there. Okay, let's just remove those from the page. Okay, next hidden gem in Foundation is we're going to be diving into site styles. And just for easiness, I'm actually just going to delete this partial and add a normal site styles to the page, just so I don't have to keep going in and out of the partial editor. So inside site styles, you probably know that we have a decent amount of control with fonts. I see a question, wouldn't you want to have CSS in site-wide styles? Yes, it depends if that style is going to be across your site, or if you know that you're only going to use that CSS on that particular page, you could do that as well. So the question is, if we go to advanced over here in the project settings, or no, I'm sorry, it's changed. RapidWeaver 8, it's in code, and go to CSS, you could type in CSS here. So, there's multiple places you could do it. I have a couple of videos on how to do CSS inside RapidWeaver, but just for easiness, I just threw it in the CSS tab here in the page inspector, which only applies it to this one page. Okay. So fonts. What are some tricks that we have using fonts inside site styles? Because I know that a lot of people, they tend to use some other header stacks so that they can change maybe the font of a header on a particular section or something like that. And they apply the font styles specifically in a header stack, right? And the whole point of site styles is that all your styles are centralized. It's about being lazy. This is all about being lazy, people, because we want to set our styles and all of our fonts and all that jazz one time, right? And if we want to change that at any point, we only have one place to change it. We don't want to change it, go through our entire site and change the font that we're using on H4, on every single H4 that we're using across the site. It's kind of ridiculous because we can do all of that inside site styles. So by default here, we have the ability to do H1, H2 through H6, and then text, right? So you can set different fonts for these three different things. Now, just for example, let's just go ahead and add a header stack to the page. So if I look at this header stack, if I make it in H1, it's going to get the H1 font. If I make it in H2 through an H6, it could potentially get a different font. Okay, so again, in site styles, by default, we have H1, H2 through H6, and you could set different fonts for those. That's basic, right? That's not really a gem. That's what it does out of the box. But how can we change that behavior? So essentially here, we have a setting here called custom font selectors. So if we enable that, that gives us some very interesting new settings that we have here. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to really define what that particular font and that font weight are going to be used for. Right? So if I wanted this H1 font to be H1 and H2, I can do that. And then if I wanted this one to be, and maybe let's say H1, H2, and H6, I don't know, for some reason. And then down here, I wanted H1, H2, H3, H4, right? or I'm sorry, H3 through 5, we can do that. Now, this does require that you know a little bit. This is basically the selector part of CSS. And so in CSS, you can target the tag, right? But you can also target other things, such as, the example we just did, I can target .red header, right? So you can target some different things. So you can actually add other CSS elements to this custom selector object. Now, again, this does require you know a little bit about CSS and how selectors work. The dot gives you class names, right? So we can target all H1s on the page, all H2s on the page, all H6s, and this targets the class of .red header, right? Now, inside the header stack, we can then choose whether or not we want the H1 family, the H2 family. So there's another kind of override that we have at the header stack level. So here, even though it's an H2, I can say, even though you're an H2, use the H2 family from site styles, which is this second one, right? Which is, scroll down here, which is this one. So if we were to change that to say impact, now that font would get impact because I told it to use impact here. So you can override those page defaults that you set in site styles. But the powerful thing here is if I ever want to change all of those at once, I don't need to change it at the header level. I just go back into site styles and I can change that impact to be Georgia. And there we go, right? So again, this custom font selectors is a very nice hidden gem that a lot of people overlook because it gives you a lot of control over, you can have 3 different font families and you can assign those to different things. By default, it's very rigid. You have H1, H2 through H6, and paragraph. But you can really have a lot of control once you choose this custom font selector inside site styles. Next up is inside this font definition, we have something called custom definition. So if you set any of these, so you can set it at the H1 level, H2, I'm going to turn off custom selectors just so there's less settings showing. So here I set my H1 font family to be custom definition. If you notice, there's a few things that showed up here. First, I can define a custom font. So if I want, if I know that I want to have San Francisco, this font will now use the San Francisco font, and then you define your weights here, and then you can also define fallbacks. Okay, but we have to be careful because if you're defining a custom font, you have to make sure that that font is getting loaded on the web page or that the font is installed on your user's machine. Because if that font isn't on your user's machine or you're not loading it onto the page, then it's just going to show some default font and you're at the mercy of whatever the browser chooses to serve up. Okay. Now with the custom font, you can actually define multiple. So if you say by default, I want to show San Francisco, which is a font that exists on iOS, but maybe if on Android, San Francisco doesn't exist, you could do comma space Lato, right? Lato, which is a system font is Lato or is it Roboto? I think it's Lato. Lato is one of the default system fonts on Android, right? So you can get a little bit more granular control over you can have you can place in a comma and then have custom fonts in there. Okay. Now another thing that we have is there's a checkbox here, and this gives us a lot of power because we can actually, if this font existed on Google Fonts, we can load it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to open up Safari and load Google Fonts really quick. I just noticed I'm like 20 minutes in and I'm only on gem number 3. Oh boy. I think it's fonts.google.com. Oops, fonts. Okay. So here inside Google Fonts, you see there's a ton of fonts available. It's a really great service. Okay. I just want to give you, I'm not going to go over all of Google Fonts, just some quick things here. Let's say Roboto. Okay. So in Roboto, you'll notice that we have various weights that we have access to. Okay. So we have thin, italic, essentially regular is going to be 400. So it's 400, 500, 600, 700. And so what you want to do is you want to get the exact name that it's spelled inside Google Fonts. Everything, case sensitivity, everything has to be exactly the same. So if I copy this, I can then paste that into here. And if I check this load Google Fonts, it will now load Roboto via site styles, right? So really nice. And then you can also load additional weights if you wanted something outside of what you defined in the weights here. Okay. But it is really important to note that there's some fonts now. Roboto has all of the weights available. There are some fonts that only support regular or bold, right? So you're gonna have to figure out if you want to use a particular font, which weight you want to use. Okay. Now, I in my Font Pro videos, I go in depth in terms of how to use Google Fonts and all that jazz. A lot of that is still relevant if you want to load a Google font through site styles. So maybe check those out, those videos out if you want to start leveraging Google Fonts inside site styles. But it's pretty simple, right? Just make sure the custom font name matches the same exact font name on Google Fonts and check this box and you're done. Right? At that point, Roboto will now be used for all H1s on the page, right? Here, and actually, let's go, I'll make it apply to H1 through H6. We'll make this H1 on the page. If we preview that, there's Roboto, right? So, yeah, cool. There's a lot of chatter in the chat box. Or let me just pick up that before let's see. Okay. Next up, so that kind of goes over some of the gems, the hidden gems that we have for fonts inside site styles. Hopefully, you caught a few little tips and interesting things there. The custom font selector stuff, I know for a fact not many people use that. So that is definitely kind of a cool little hidden gem for everybody. Obviously, if you want really powerful font stuff, Font Pro really gets even, like it takes all of this to the nth degree. And that's a really great tool for loading up fonts. Oh no, I lost my checkbox. Oh, here it is. Okay. Next up. Okay. Now, I showed this to some really advanced Foundation users just about a month ago, and they were blown away because they didn't really realize what this was all about. So inside site styles, you know that we could define many different colors. We have header, text, accents, link colors, but then we also have alternate colors for all of those. Now, a lot of times, we'll be working on our website and we'll have sections of content that are white and maybe some that are maybe a darker color. Let's say black. Let's just go simple. Let's do white and black. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this. I'm going to change this background to be. We'll just go black. Okay, and this is white, and this one is black. Oops, can't do that. Now, obviously, I could partial this out so we could have all the partials and all that jazz, but just for quickness, okay, we have a black section, a white section, and a black section. Now, something that you notice here is, well, Joe, all the text in here isn't legible because the background is black, right? So a lot of people have figured this out. They go to the paragraph and they go, okay, well, I want this paragraph to be the alternate colors. Cool. And then I want this color to be alternate colors as well. Awesome. And then we could do the same thing down here. And then obviously here, if we added a header stack to the page inside this section, well, that header uses the default header color, which isn't what we want. We want the alternate color. So we can go here and we can set it there. Now, so far, all of today, I've been talking about how we need to be lazy. And we need to make sure that we're not going through tons of things and setting settings on everything, right? It's all about centralizing our data, right? And we have that to some extent, right? We centralize our colors here in site styles, and that's convenient. All I have to do is in the header stack is to flip it, but then I have to do it for every single one, right? What if there was a way that I can do that all with just a single click? So let's go ahead and make that the same. I'm going to go over here in header. So obviously this entire section, I want anything that I add to this to contain that alternate color. So inside the columns, and this exists in all column stacks, we have a color scheme option here. The default is none, right? But if we set this to be alt colors, boom, by magic, everything that we add to this will now automatically contain the alternate colors. So that's how we can quickly, style our sites by just using the color schemes and setting those color schemes at the kind of the container level within our columns. So now even if I add a new paragraph to this page, it automatically gets the alternate colors. Now, if you notice inside the columns, we have access to not only alternate colors, but you can actually use all the swatches as well. Oh, and here's the custom class. I knew I had custom classes inside columns. So here's custom class, but you can also use swatches, right? So swatch 1, swatch 5, and the swatches are a little bit different, right? Inside site styles, we have 6 different swatches that contains color 1 and color 2. Okay, so the swatches are just a nice way to give you additional colors. It's not quite as controlled because you can't control the header and text and paragraph colors. But this is a very cool little tip that I was surprised no one really knew existed. It's existed for many years. So yeah, just quickly use these color schemes within the column stack to quickly change all the colors within, and it also works for things like tabs and other containers that have alternate colors as well. So yeah, very cool, very exciting. That is a really simple tip, but I think hopefully it's going to save you guys a lot of time, because switching between alternate colors can be a pain if I have to go to every single stack and set that value. Especially if I decide, oh, you know what, I want to make this section be just white, and then all you have to do now is change the color scheme to none instead of having to go to every single stack and setting it to use the main color scheme. Cool. That was a cool little gem. Hope you like that one. Let me get a quick drink of water here. Next up is dealing with how columns break. So let's go, and we'll start off with the simplest example, and we're going to do a 2-column. Okay, and just for fun, I'm just going to add in a couple images in here. We'll do 2 images. Okay. So here we have 2 images, and if we preview this page, let's preview in a browser. And it goes over here. Okay. We have these 2 images, and as you know, when we go on mobile, okay, they break so that image 1 is on top of image 2, right? But what if I wanted, actually, instead of 2 images, here we're going to change this up a little bit. I'm actually going to add, I'm just going to chuck this entire column in here. And we only want 1 paragraph. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna actually, let's not be lazy. I don't need the column in there. We're just gonna have the paragraph in the header. Okay. This is a very common scenario. On desktop here, I have some text over here on the left and an image on the right. Now, but out of the box, this 2-column, once we get to mobile, that image is going to drop below the text. But what if I wanted it different? What if I wanted the image above and the text below? How can we do that, right? And that is totally possible using source ordering inside Foundation. So now I have a video on this that kind of maybe goes over a little slower and maybe a little bit more in depth, but check that out. It's on the Learn tab inside the Foundations for Sites, foundationstacks.com website. So if we scroll down, we'll notice that inside here for sizing, on mobile sizing, we have 12 and 12. Okay. So what we want to do is to do source ordering. What I always do is I turn off tablet and desktop sizing, and I start with just mobile sizing. Okay. So here we have the mobile layout for this 2-column stack. Now, what I wanted, remember, is to have the image on top. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move this image to be above. And here's my drop zone for column number 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to move this down to column 2. So that's how I want things to look like inside mobile, right? Then what we're going to do is we're then going to turn on tablet sizing. Okay, so we turn on tablet sizing, and now things look different, right? That's not how I want. I want to have on tablet, I want to have this image over on the left or on the right, and I want to have the text on the left. So how do we do that? Basically, what we're going to do is inside here, inside column 1, in the alignment option, we're going to say source order. Okay. If you look, we have push and pull, and what we're going to do is we're going to, by default, this is using 6 columns. So we remember that foundation, it has a 12 column width. So there's a total of 12 columns. What we're going to do is we're going to push this over 6 columns. And if you can see it happen right there, right in edit mode. And obviously, what we want to do then is on column 2, we're going to do source order. And instead of pushing, we're going to pull, because we want to pull it to the left. And we want to pull that 6 columns to the left. So now if we preview this now, right, on tablet and desktop, we have exactly what we wanted. And then when we go to mobile view, we have the image up on top. Now, probably what we want is just to make it look a little nicer. Here, we're going to set the padding to be, actually at the bottom of each row, we'll do 1 rem just for fun. Re-preview that. Oh, oops. I'm sorry, at the column level. 1 and 1. There we go. So now we have some spacing between our image and our header here. So there we go. On mobile, we have the image on top, and on tablet and desktop, we have a completely different. So that's cool. Let's go a little bit more advanced, right? And let's do a 3 column. So let's say in the 3 column, I have some text here. I'm just going to repurpose this 2 column content that we created. I have an image in the middle, and this text is probably way too much text. Let's just to make it look a little nicer. Okay, we have that, and I'm gonna, let's say we have this layout. This could be a common layout, right? So again, in this layout here, if we preview this, we have some text, maybe justifying it would look better, and then images in the middle, and another thing of text. Now, when we go to mobile on this, we're going to have text, image, text, right? It's kind of in order. But what if we want to do the same thing? What if we wanted to have this image up here and then this content down on the bottom? So we're going to do the same exact concept. What we're going to do is we're going to turn off tablet sizing, and we're going to get everything to look how we want it to look on mobile. So we wanted the image up on top, and then this drop zone area here is the middle column. So we're going to put the text here. Right. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, now that I've done that, we're going to go back to the column, and we're going to turn on tablet sizing again. Okay. Now, obviously, this isn't what I want, right? But we can push and pull things around. So we're going to go to column 1. We're going to offset, and we're going to push that 4 spaces to the right. And then in column 2, we're going to offset that, and we're going to pull it by 4. So now we have the same exact situation here. If I preview this, my image is now up top, my content's on the bottom, but once we get to tablet and desktop, it's changed the source ordering. So cool. Source ordering is really cool. It's a very powerful thing. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. That's been around since Foundation 1.0, since day 1. Foundation shipped 5 years ago. So that's a really good thing that I know people kind of struggle with, the ordering of their content. So hopefully that helped out. Next up, I know you all, sometimes we want a 5 column grid, right? Sometimes we want 5 columns of content, and we can see it right here in edit mode that the outside columns are a different size. What the heck? I just want 5 equal columns. And I can't do that because inside Foundation, everything has to be divisible by 12. And, well, 5 just isn't divisible by 12, Joe. I mean, what the heck? What can we do? How can I get 5 equal columns in Foundation? And the answer is you don't use a 5-column Foundation stack. What you use is the block grid. So the block grid allows you to create grids. And if we want a 5-column, let's just go ahead and let's just add this image in here. I'm going to delete this column here. And what you could do is you could just add as many of these blocks as you want. Now, by default, you can create like a huge grid of items. But right now, I'm just going to add 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just pasting that in 5 times. Okay. And if we look at the block grid settings, what you can do is you set up how many blocks are visible on mobile per row, right? So on desktop we have 5, and let's say on mobile we want, let's keep it at 2. And you can add tablet sizing if you want something different. Let's say tablet's 3. So on desktop we're going to get 5. It's going to distribute these blocks 5 wide equally. Right? And on tablet, it's going to go to 3. Mobile, it's going to go to 2. So if we preview this inside Safari, we'll see I now have 5 equally distributed columns with an image. They're all exactly the same size. And then when I shrink down, we then get a column of 3. And then if I go a little bit further, we get 2 by 2. Right. So 5 columns is definitely a little funky because things don't distribute evenly. Right. It's weird. Right. So having 5 columns is unusual. Chances are, you're using it for something small, like on the footer. Maybe you have, a line of social media tags and, you want to have 5. Block grid is great for that. And obviously, if I can add as many as I want, right, I can keep, block grid can be used for a lot more than just, columns, but you can faux do columns here. And so that there, I have my grid, and you can define how many wide you want and stuff like that. So block grid, very powerful way if you want to have equally distributed columns that don't rely on kind of that 12 column table that Foundation columns use. Go ahead and give block grid a shot. Okay, we're coming on to the last part. We've gone through how many gems right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gems. We're going to go through some interesting ones right now. And we're going to jump into forms. So there are a lot of kind of hidden gems inside Foundation forms. And I'm going to go through some of the simpler ones. And then at the very end, we're gonna dive into some database stuff. So let's go ahead and let's add a form stack to the page. Okay, so here we have forms. Now there are some fields here that are useful, and there's a stack here called hidden data. Now you might think, Joe, what the heck is hidden data? Why would I want hidden data? Okay. So hidden data allows you to send data a part of your form or part of your email, but it's actually not visible on the page at all, right? So let's go ahead and I'm going to add, I'm just going to add some inputs in here just to build out a sample form. So we have, let's say, name, email, and oops, I don't want to select, I want a text area. So let's just go ahead and add a name. We're going to give the field name something unique, call it name. Here we're going to say email, we're going to call that email, and here we're going to call that comments. Okay. So here we have some, and we want to add a button. So we're just going to go app and we need a button. And this needs to be a form submit button. And we're going to say submit. Cool. And we want round corners because round corners are nicer. Okay. So here we have now in Formbase, you can send emails. You can actually send 2 different emails. You can do MySQL setup. You can do custom post and a bunch of other stuff. Okay. But so when you send out a default email, what is going to happen is Foundation is going to send you the name, the email, the comments inside that email. Now, if you have hidden data, this allows you to do some interesting stuff, right? I mean, maybe you have, maybe it's page. Maybe you have different contact forms on different pages, and you want to know which page that person sent this email from. So basically, you could set the field name to be page, and this field value could be contact us page, something like that. So now the user isn't going to see this hidden data, but that data will be sent with the email when it gets emailed to you. So you can add different things. Now, if we want to take this to the next level, okay, as long as if we're not scared to dive into a little bit of PHP here, we can do some really interesting stuff. So a lot of common things that I get is, how can I get the user's IP address or something of that nature? Now, obviously, you got to take into account privacy and all that jazz. If whether or not you should be having or collecting that data or saving it, okay, whatever, it is possible. How can we do that, Joe? So you might be a little scared of some PHP, but we're going to dive into it a little bit. So let's say I want to have this field name is going to be IP address. And in the value, we're going to insert some PHP. Okay. Now, here, I'm going to, just to make it, I know some people, it'd probably be a little bit hard to see that as I type into this field. So I'm going to open up a new window here. Okay. This is my favorite editor. It's called VS Code. And we're just going to type into here so it's a little easier for you to see. So inside here, we're going to, obviously we need to start PHP with question, open tag, question mark, PHP. PHP. And let's make this bigger so you guys can all see that. Whoa, really big. Okay. Hopefully that's a little bit more visible. Okay. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to use the echo command. And that echoes data that we have inside access to within PHP, and it echoes it to the browser. Okay. So right now we're going to take a value and we're going to do $_server, which is a special variable inside PHP. And inside $_server, there is a variable called remote_adder. I'll verify that. I believe it's remote_adder. And then we're going to do a semicolon because that's what we need to end our statement. And then we close our PHP values with a question mark and a greater than sign. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to take the IP address of the actual user. Okay. Now, obviously, if they're in VPN, it's not guaranteed to be the actual IP address, right? But most of the time, it's going to be the IP address. And if I copy and paste this into this field value, PHP is now going to insert that dynamically into the field. Very, very cool. And actually, I think I just see a bug. Use single quotes. Yes. Interesting. Okay, good thing we caught that. We want to use single quotes in there. Because that will not cause any issues, any conflicts. Oops. So server remote adder. And just to make sure, so if we go to PHP's documentation, so this is an app that I use every day called Dash. And it allows me to access PHP documentation, HTML documentation, CSS documentation, all kinds of stuff. And if we look here, remote adder. So if we accessed $_server, I was right. It is remote_adder. I have a good memory sometimes, and we get that code. But there's tons of other stuff you could do here, right? Maybe you want the server, and I don't know if you want the server name. I think server adder is probably the most common thing you're going to get from this. But maybe you want to echo today's date or something like that, or whatever. Maybe if you're using SiteLock and you want to put in some SiteLock user data into a form or something like that, you can simply echo that variable from PHP into this hidden form value. And so that allows you to do some interesting stuff. Just make sure, as we saw this issue, don't use double quotes in your PHP code. Use single quotes. Or else you're going to break your page and it won't work. So single quotes only instead of double quotes. Cool. Hopefully that didn't confuse too many of you too much. So, but hidden fields, very powerful, very easy things. And as you just saw, field name here is IP address. Address has 2 Ds. So when this email is sent, that IP address will show up as IP address inside the email. So really cool stuff. Next up, another question that I get a lot, okay? There is an unsupported little snippet that I added quite a while ago for uploading files into or via Foundation Forms. And it only works with email, and it will attach that file to the email and email it out to you. It seems to work pretty good because people that I've given it to haven't seemed to have any issues with it. So maybe Foundation 2, it will become an official feature. As of right now, it is completely hidden. I wouldn't expect anyone to know that it exists unless I told you it existed. So what you want to do is you're going to drag and drop an HTML field into your form, and then you're going to have a little snippet. And what that HTML snippet is you're going to do input type equals file, name equals file, close. And that's it. This one little snippet, if we paste this into HTML, it has to be inside the form stack, okay? This will now give us the ability to upload a single file, just a single file. And if you're using the email portion of it, it will attach that file to the email, and it will be emailed out to you. Now, there's a lot of caveats with this. Obviously, probably the biggest issue that people have is upload limits. So they try to upload a 200 megabyte file, and they're like, Joe, it's not working. Well, chances are your host. A lot of hosts really notch down file upload limits on the server. So I bet you that if you're having issues sending out files, it's probably your upload limits on the server. So this is a really cool snippet. I never released it because I'll be honest, I was a little scared of the support that it would cause. But it seems like it's okay. So I'm probably going to add it as an official feature in Foundation 2 to have officially uploading files to forms, at least for emails, so that we can have that as an option. Really nice. So pretty simple, very short little small snippet, input type equals file, name equals file, and you're done. And you can only have one. You can't upload multiple files. You can only upload one. Cool. That was a great hidden gem. Next up, human test fields. So Foundation Forms right now, they support reCAPTCHA, right? reCAPTCHA. So you can have reCAPTCHA. I hate reCAPTCHA. I despise it every time I go to a website and I have to fill out that stupid form and click all the stupid pictures. And then it says, even it doesn't validate me sometimes. I have to do it like multiple times because it refreshes the pictures and you got to do it again. And it's horrible. I hate reCAPTCHA with a passion. But I have it as a feature in the Foundation Forms. If you want to use it, go for it. I personally don't like it. What are options that we can do though? So, in Foundation, you can do something called you can create a human test, and we just use it with like a text input field. And let's say we want to validate what is maybe you type it out 2 plus 3 or something like that. Okay, and we call this test. So what you do is inside this field, I say what is 2 plus 3. And the user has to actually input the answer 5 in order for it to work. So in order to do this, what we do is we check the validate field, and where the rule is, we just set it to be a custom rule. Okay, and this custom pattern, you just put in the answer, 5. We now have a human test field on our, and the form won't allow you to submit until they enter in the correct answer, which in this case is 5. Okay, you probably set it to required, right? So it's required. So that is a really simple way of doing a human test, right? Asking them, most of the time it's like some sort of math question or, something like that, where, you type in what is 2 plus 3, something simple, that, one tactic is instead of, typing in the numbers here, 2 plus 3, you could type out the numbers to kind of confuse any sort of bots or hackers or things of that nature. So yes, this human validation with a text input works really great. Oops, I'm running out of free space. Cool. So that is gem number 10. Now we're going to dive into some a little bit more complex things. And this is database inserts. Now, I wasn't planning originally on like doing wholeheartedly the database insert. I only wanted to show you the coolness that you can export your data as a CSV file from a database. But in order to do that, I'd have to set it all up anyway, so we might as well do it. Okay. So inside forms, so I actually, hold on one second. I use an app called SQL Pro to connect to my databases, and I'm going to type in my passwords and stuff over my other display really quick. Hold on one second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new database to my database, and I'm just going to call it live stream. Okay. We're just going to keep the defaults for encoding and whatever. Oops. Couldn't create. Oh, I don't want to create a table. I wanted to create. Hold on one second. Hold on. Oh, okay. I already created a database here called customer email. And what I'll do is I'll create a new table here. So what I'm going to do is, how do you create a new table? Add a new table. Table name, live stream. Add. Okay. So here we have a thing called live stream. I'm just going to we'll just do this, name, email, comments. So I'm going to add in a new field. I'm going to do a name. This is a varchar. Okay. Oh, what's this? Oh. We'll just do text. Okay. And then we're going to do email. We'll just do text as well. And then we have comments. Do text as well. Okay. And allow null, we'll allow null. And we have an ID field which will get auto assigned and auto incremented with every new insertion. So here I have my database structure. Now for kicks, I am going to enter in my database username and password here. And so with that, I'm going to move it over here because you guys don't need to know all of my database username and passwords. Yeah, thank you very much. Hold on one second. I should have prepped this. I should have prepped at least this part. Sorry. Database name is here. Actually, you can kind of see. I won't. I'll wait till I put. So I'm entering my database server, my username. That's not my password. My database name is my database. So we have customer underscore email. And then my table is the one I created. It's called live stream. Okay. And then we'll look at this export hash in a second. So let me go ahead and figure out my database password because I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Plop that in there, and I'm gonna. Okay, so I've set up my SQL. I minimized it so I'm not showing this live streamed. And what I can do is I'm gonna publish this. So I'm publishing this page to my server. Oh, actually, I want to hold on. Cancel publishing. I'm gonna turn off email because I only want this to insert to database, not emails. So, oh no. Oh, I canceled the publishing and RapidWeaver decided to crash. Live stream for the win. Live streaming for the win. Okay, send and relaunch. I may have to reset up some of that database stuff. Hold on one second. Let's see. The joys of live streaming. I see people, talking about in the App Store. There's an app called SQL Pro. Yeah, I've heard good things about that one. The one I use, which is just called SQL Pro. It's spelled a little bit differently. It's free. It's an amazing app for free. So yeah, it's here SQL. Here, let's Google it. So if you just Google SQL Pro, here it's SQLPro.com, and here it is. You could donate, download it. It's free. It's an amazing app. I've been using it for years. It's better than anything else I've ever used and paid like $50 or $60 for. SQL Pro. The icon's kind of fun. I don't really care for it. I wish they had something a little bit different, but yeah, whatever. SQL Pro, awesome app. Okay, let's see what I need to reset up over here. Oh, and everything was saved. Nice. Okay, everything was saved. Nice. I don't need to redo anything. Okay, so email setup, I unchecked that. Just for fun, I'll save the project now. And I'm going to go ahead and republish all files. Because obviously this database insert, it's not going to work inside of RapidWeaver Preview. It only works when you publish. So, yeah. Do 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 do. Fun times. Almost there. Let's get Safari ready. And let's bring up the Sandbox website. Okay. Oh man, I should have thrown that into a. Hold on. Well, let me throw that into a one column stack really quick. Oops. Okay. So yeah, if you notice, actually, that could be a gem. I can kind of show it later on. What constrains the width of your websites is the column stacks. So before I had the form stack just on the top of the page, and anything that is outside of a foundation form stack will go the entire width of the site. It's kind of a hidden gem, probably something I could have shown earlier, but yeah, that is a good gem. Anything that's inside of a foundation column stack will constrain itself. So we're just going to add in some padding in here, and we publish this. Okay, refresh. There we go. A little bit nicer to look at. So now let's test this. If I put in Joe, support at email.com and hello live stream. So Thomas, is this recorded? Yes, this live stream is available for replay later on. Sorry if I'm going really quick. I'm going to submit this, and it said it was successful. Let's go ahead. Here is my SQL database. I'm going to go to the content, and boom! Look at there it is. I have the data inside my database. Wow, it worked. Live stream for the win. Let's do Lyle Schmuck at crocodile.com. Yo croc. Gonna submit that again. If we refresh this, boom, we have 2 entries in our database. Yay! Really cool. Okay, so that's nice. Now, obviously that's a really cool gem. Another thing that we can do is export. So let's say we want to export this data from our database, but we don't want to have this. We don't want to have this SQL Pro thing, because for if you're building a website for a customer or even for yourself, sometimes you don't want to have to launch apps like this. It's confusing. It's clunky. It's just scary for a lot of people. So how can we give access to this data to the average person, right? So if we go back to our foundation form settings, you'll notice that inside the, hold on one second. Okay. I wanted to show you the database settings without showing the password. So if we go back to the database settings, you'll notice at the bottom, we have a few settings here. We have export hash key, export username, and export password. What are those, Joe? So if we add the export hash key, is the hash key that we add to the end of the URL in order to trigger downloading of this data. So if I just do, and if you notice the hash key was export by default. So I'm just going to do hashtag export, enter. Oops. Enter. Oh, pop-up window blocked. Haha. Okay, so now it's asking me for a username and password. Well, what is that username and password? Well, you define that username and password in the stack settings here. Export username, export password. So we have exporter and secret. I'm going to type exporter and secret. And I'm going to say login. Oops, I think I clicked that twice. Or did I type it wrong? Hold on one second. I'm just going to, interesting. I don't think I'm websites. Where is the pop-up thing? I'm just going to turn that on really quick. Oh, is that inside? They've changed all of this stuff. Websites. Oh yeah. Is it here? No, reader. Pop-up windows. Here, I'm going to say allow. Okay. Okay. So here we're going to go here. Okay. So now we got this. We're going to do exporter secret login. Exporter secret. Drats. Okay, well, let me go ahead and let me change that to be something different really quick. I'm going to change that to be Joe password I'm going to publish that really quick. So what should happen is that it should automatically download a CSV file that contains all of the data. Okay. So I've republished that. I've adjusted the settings. Let's go ahead and do export. I set it up to Joe and password. Interesting. Fail on my last hidden gem of the day. I'll look into that. But let's pretend that it actually magically downloaded a CSV file, because it does. I know it works. Not sure what I've done. Maybe it's something on my server here. Actually, let's just troubleshoot it. Why not? You guys want to see me? You guys enjoy watching me flounder. Let's go ahead and connect to my server. Files. I believe it. I forget how all the workings of that work, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's in files. And it should post it here. Now let's edit this htaccess file. I think that's what it's doing the work. Yes. So it creates this htaccess file, and what it does is it creates this export.password file, which did it? Foundation export password. There it is. Foundation export password. If we open up that, it is gibberish. It's using exporter. Okay. Yeah, I think we're just going to pretend that it worked for right now, and I will look into that. If it turns out to be a bug, I will ship a bug fix for that. But pretend that it downloaded a CSV file that you can then open up in Numbers or Excel, and you can see all of the data just as you see here inside the SQL Pro app. So, yeah. Sorry for that. Almost had a perfect live stream without an issue. I hope you guys enjoyed today. Yeah, thank you very much. We will be doing this every week. I think everyone's kind of really enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you very much. Let me look at the chat box to see if there's any more comments over here. Someone thinks I put a space after the exporter name. Yeah, I could have. Sorry. Let's just pretend it all worked for right now. And like I said, I'll make sure that I get that fixed if it turns out to be a bug. And if not, I'll post over on Weaverspace what it was. So hopefully you guys are all members over on Weaverspace. Go to community.weavers.space, join in over there, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Hope you have a wonderful week, the rest of your week. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Take care, and everyone enjoy your Happy Pi Day tomorrow. Happy Pi Day for all you math nerds out there. So. Take care, guys. We'll talk to you next week's live stream. Hopefully, I'm not sure what it's going to be on next week. Actually, I'm talking to a few guests to actually get kind of a live one-on-one coaching starting next week. So I have 2 people potentially interested. So hopefully I can connect up with them. Get one of them will be hopefully available next week, and we'll do a live coaching call. And yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be fun. So take care, guys. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.